Mm.
Hello.
Hi, is this better now?
Yeah, this is better. I think we lost the connection.
Yeah.
So I just greeted you in the beginning and welcome to our today's session, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Nitin. Wonderful to at least connect with you on virtually, if not in person.
No, actually, if you remember at the Fiki Flow event that we conducted, I think you were one of the panelists and we were looking forward to see you, but somehow you
I
couldn't
was
make it over
supposed,
there.
yes, I was supposed to be, but unfortunately, I had to attend another event in Delhi, and I missed being at the event here in Amritsar.
Okay, I mean, better late than never.
Absolutely,
So, okay,
absolutely.
I would like to kind of give you a small introduction of yours to the subscribers that have joined us today. Now, I have a long list of accolades and kind of qualifications that you have, and this is the first time I've had someone. I think I'm going to take about 5 minutes to introduce someone. Okay, Praneet ma'am is basically running a architectural studio by the name of Studios PMB, and she also has a furniture, I would say, outfit by the name of Living by Studios PMB. And more important than that, she is very well active in a lot of social cause or promotion of social causes. Like she is running something by the name of Fulkari WOA, which she established in 2017, which has now become a think tank for women. So first, before we kind of, I introduce other things, I would definitely like to know more about Fulkari and what does WOA in that means and what kind of things that you do in that.
So, Abhinav, we are today the largest women's organization here in Amritsar. We just started us. We're about to start our 7th year of being in operation. We basically work towards enriching women. The belief that when you enrich women, you're enriching the generations to come. And by, empowering them, by teaching them, exposing them to different things, you're creating a change in society and, you know, all the many children to come. And
Okay,
that's what we basically do.
so it's primarily a crafts. I mean, because what I can link
So
Fulkari is with.
we have nothing to do with craft. We have nothing
Okay,
to do with craft. We're a women's organization, a women's empowerment organization. And I founded it, but yes, I don't run it anymore.
hmm,
You know, I founded it 7 years ago, and now it carries on its own without me.
that's even a better, I think, a greater achievement because when you find something and
Yes.
it is able to kind of sustain itself, it is a bigger achievement actually. Okay,
Yes,
now there are other
absolutely.
things
And
also.
back
She's
to my day job.
So she's also been the vice president of the Old Scenarian Society. At the same time, she is presently a representative of Prabha Khetan Foundation in Amritsar and also involved with Crafts Council and World Crafts Council. So I think that's one too many things for someone to kind of handle or be I would say a part of. But I think all I would say credit to ma'am for having been able to handle so many things, and probably she's a multitasker, I must say.
Thank you so much.
So not wa- not wasting too much time, let's go on to the topic of our day, wherein we want to discuss and have her opinion on choosing the right facade and fenestration product. So, ma'am, my first question to you, uh, as per you, when you are designing a project, how important is the role of facade and fenestration, and how do you go about it? Whether it is an element in mind or only the space planning is an element in mind. So, what is the weightage of this element in your designing?
Okay, want to reverse the role. I want everybody watching to imagine when we talk about the first question, how important is fenestration, right? Let's flip it. Now imagine that we all lived in homes with no windows and no doors. I think that puts perspective on exactly how important fenestration is in any building, right? That is our connection to the outside. Without that, we're living in a closed box. And I think
Correct.
that just, encompasses how important fenestration is. That just says it all, right? You'll agree with me that there's no other examples that I can give than to say, imagine yourself living in a box, right?
Hmm.
So number one, that without a window, without a door, there is no design. That's just how important fenestration is. Um, Fenestration is our connection. When you're sitting inside, it's your connection to the outside world. Otherwise, like I said, it's that closed box. It gives us a sense of scale. When we look at larger buildings, this is what creates scale and rhythm in a building, right? This gives a sense of, you know, what it creates rhythm in your facade. It's the fenestration that creates the design of the facade. So that's just how important your fenestration is. It's a key component in design, right? But having said that, now I cannot uh, choose my fenestration just to suit my design and my aesthetics. This is one part of the building where you have to look at everything around you. You have to look at the climate around you. You have to look at everything from the context of the building that you're designing, the purpose of the building that you're designing, the climate of that area, everything. The purpose of that particular window or that particular door, everything comes into play when you make that one decision on what is the door, what is the window that I'm using in a particular location. So it's never one size fits all either.
Correct.
So fenestration really, I would say, is a key component of any design project, right? As you being in the business of making these products, know just what a huge role it plays.
I think you drove home the point, or let's say the answer to the question, just in your first statement, wherein you asked everyone to flip the question and just think that if there are no windows, how comfortable would you be in living in a closed box? And I think it
Yeah.
has suddenly also, I mean, not to exaggerate, but made our trade even made it reach at a higher pedestal in our own eyes as well. That I think we are in a very good trade in terms of providing eyes to people who are living in a box for that matter. So
So
I think, yeah,
true.
it's very well said. I mean, without having giving a very lengthy answer, the first statement itself was a deep enough answer for people to kind of contemplate on that how important windows are in case there are none. And the second point also is very well taken, wherein probably you kind of wanted to focus upon looking at one window at a time from the point of view that for an area, that particular window, what kind of a role that an architect or for that matter, a window over there or a door over there can play is important for someone to understand before you go about it. Why? Because obviously having a fixed window as against an openable again would not drive home the point properly.
Yeah.
So that's very well taken. So considering, I mean, obviously windows are important. So going to our next question, what should be the factors? I mean, I'm just taking a leap from what you said in the part B of your first question, wherein we need to look at one window at a time from the point of view what role it can play for the architecture, the design, the customer, or let's say a, building a connect or a bridge between the people or the inhabitants with the outside. So,
Yeah.
taking a leap from there, what factors do you think are important to decide on this?
Um, Deciding, there are several, right? I'm a big believer in form must follow function. So
Mhm.
if you are true to that and you pay attention to what the function is, what is this door doing? What is this window doing? What is the purpose for it? What is the purpose it's playing in this particular situation? When you pay attention to that, all your answers fall in line. So that would
Correct.
be number one deciding factor on making the decision on what type of door or window I was using. The second would be the context. When I say context, I'm looking at various elements, the urban versus, rural, or, you could be in the mountains, you could be in the sea, everything then changes. In an urban environment, I want to cut off the outside sounds. So then
Correct.
I'm going to look at a window that accordingly, the glass will be different. I will use DGU. I will use, thicker glass. All that then varies. Versus if I'm at a seaside place, it's a conscious decision. Do I want to cut that noise out, or do I want to actually be a part of that noise? Do I want that
Correct.
as the background noise? So the choice, so every decision, you must look at the context. You must look at your climatic conditions around you. You must then look at, further to that, you must look at your direction. Very simple. Is it and then both the two play into each other. If the climate is cold, I want to face the sun. I want the warmth coming in. I'm in a warm place. I want the opposite. I want my windows to do the opposite for me. I want efficiencies on that front. So these are all the various elements that one would look at. And then after that, then I would look at the aesthetics and the materials of that window. It can go all the way from wood to aluminum to UPVC. In today's day and age, there's so many different varieties. Within aluminum itself, then I can go with a wood look. I can go with a, flat color. There's so much to play with. So honestly, the decisions are endless when it comes to just picking a single window.
So I think, it was well explained to me, at least, wherein I think there are two takeaways that I'm taking from your answer is number one, you are a strong believer in form follows function.
Yeah.
And on that basis, you basically are highlighting the fact that the context is extremely important while deciding the kind of window that we want.
That's
Why?
right.
Because the context would decide exactly whether I want an openable, a fixed, a soundproof glass, or whether, if the building is facing some directions which has higher, a lot of heat, probably I want a reflective glass. So I think these two points itself are self-explanatory to answering, a plethora of questions that someone may have, that one should be looking at, making the form follow function, and at the same time, the contextual understanding of why we are introducing it and what we want to introduce is very important. In fact, I'll also connect the contextual aspect in our day-to-day living as well, that there are many people, forget about architecture, but in every trade and in every personal life, people sometimes start acting without understanding the context, because that
Right.
can probably, make you misconstrue what the other person is trying to communicate. And you suddenly, a person who may have good intentions, you might start feeling bad about him. Why? Because you've not understood his context right.
So
And you just kept
true.
your ego thing. So I understand that context is not only important, I would say only in architecture, but anything and everything. When a person wants to do something, he should be looking at his context, the other person's context, and there is always a third context, which is the situational context.
So true.
Right. So
Very well put. Very, very well put. Absolutely.
So let's I think these two questions have been well I would say answered. Now let's move on to our fourth question. I mean, the third got answered along with the second one, wherein, personally, what are the features that you are looking for in terms of selecting fenestration, or what kind of windows you personally want to introduce into a house?
Personally, when I look at, so like I said, I look at all these various elements first, right? Then before you even look at the other technical things like the wind factors and all in high-rise
Yeah.
buildings. So I would first start with, like I said, the context, the function, yeah, blah 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 blah. Then come down to the brand that offers all those various many requirements that I have. People who can offer me good seals, because if I'm going to use windows in today's day and age, seals is a huge factor. Seals and locks, right? Compared to what we had with older wooden windows, where you didn't have good seals and locks. If I'm going to use an aluminum product, that is something that I would look for and look at very carefully. And as Beena, I think, posted here, the other thing that most people look at is then service.
Yes, that I think in our trade has become extremely important because with a lot of competitors, products having come into the market is no more kind of only, I would say, governed or let's say ruled by having good product, but also a good servicing or a backup behind that particular product. Why? Because the system windows that most people end up supplying are not only prone to probably wear and tear, just like you would have
Yeah,
rollers and other things. But
yeah,
sometimes, since these products are new for the Indian customer,
yeah.
there also happens to be a little bit of misuse, and that's an unintentional misuse.
True,
So, having said
true.
that, the customer at the end of the day still finds himself in a spot that, okay, I did a mistake, but does not mean I don't need a service for that matter.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the bigger reason why servicing is required is also this that in conventional doors and windows, which are wooden or other materials, there are a lot of people around you who have kind of, learned the trade. I mean, even a carpenter can come
true.
and correct your window.
Yeah,
But when it comes to the system windows, a customer becomes I mean, there's a certain level of limitation. Why? Because you don't want someone else to touch a product which probably he has no experience in.
yeah.
It's like you would not take a Mercedes into a BMW showroom for kind of servicing, or you wouldn't call a
Very true.
BMW person to kind of service your Mercedes. So here
Yeah,
also
yeah,
I've seen in my trade that people become a little bit anxious that what would we do in case we have a problem tomorrow?
yeah.
Yes, this concern is very well taken, and I think it is good for us to exaggerate on platforms like this that servicing is extremely important, even if it is a well-designed product, till the time people become used to operating it comfortably. I mean, it has become
True.
a habit for them, and there are a lot of people around them who can service them, even if they are not authorized for that matter.
Right, right. It needs to
So
be as
that,
easy, like you said, as having a carpenter come
yeah,
and be able to, figure it out for you. So that comfort level also needs to be set within the market. Right now,
correct. So
it's
in
the
a way, we
comfort
would want
level
to
that
have,
needs, uh,
yeah, sorry.
altering. It's the comfort level. People are still not yet so comfortable using these products. Um, you know, the other thing that one needs to take into consideration are the price points.
Hmm.
So yes, by far a better product, but yes, also a higher price point. So there is a certain gap in understanding, as we said, not only just in the use, but also in the product that they are getting. So
The value for money
the
perspective.
value for money, and so that awareness needs to be created in the market. That the
Correct. I'm
product
with you on
isn't
that.
just an apples to apples comparison between wood and these materials. So that also that awareness needs to be created in the market for sure.
Definitely, yes. And I think there's a lot of education and academic exercises not to be done by only us, but all the other people in the market who are trying to promote new products.
Yeah,
Why? Because every market has its own segment of customers, and as per their understanding level, the approach should also be taken accordingly. So I'm with you on
very
that, and I think yes, there's a lot of work left to be done in terms of academic awareness of the products that we are trying to sell in the
yeah,
market.
yeah,
So okay, let's
yeah.
move on to the last question of our day. So can you please take us through your way of selecting the product, or let's say, what would you? I mean, obviously you talked about a lot to do with form follows function, context, but let's take an example. If you want to know your process, I mean, what comes first, what comes second, and obviously we know if windows are second, then how do you do it? But what is the process that you follow in terms of, I would say, selecting the product for your project?
Um, so I would divide it into two categories, right? One would be the residential, where you're not where you're it's a balance of my use for the window.
Sorry, I just want to intervene
Yeah.
a little. I want to add now here, where am I trying to, I would say, point out is that normally when customers come to the architect, some of them
Mm-hmm.
are very strongly driven by what they want. And you may have a
Absolutely.
process. And
Yeah.
we make windows, we have a process to do it, but when a customer comes and says, okay, I want this and I want that, so we are kind of taken on the back foot that how do we go about it? Now, I think in an architectural practice, it becomes even more difficult, I would say. Why? Because it's his house. He is hiring us as an architect, and now he is very strongly driven by what he wants. Now, how does that thing gets, kind of accommodated while you are trying to design the project?
So again, if you look at the logic behind it and explain to a customer the logic behind your choice and your reasoning for anything, right? It's not just the selection of windows, but the logic in the layout, or there's so many decisions. Whatever your decision be, if you take your customer on as an equal partner and
Hmm.
walk them through the logic of your decision, 90% of the time, your customer will understand.
Correct.
Then you have something, there's a give and take. Then you can either you look at it from their perspective and understand it, and they are able to convey their logic, or they see your logic. But if it's not a discussion based on logic, then you're just, then it's, like I said, the person just comes in on a whim and says, listen, I want to do XYZ, or I want
Yeah.
my, house to look like the Taj Mahal. But when there is no logical backing to it, it has nothing to stand on.
Very well
So
said. Again, yeah. So I'm liking the way this session is going. Why? Because I'm being able to understand in one sentence or one word what you're trying to convey. Why? Because the minute you say that when you take upon the customer as your equal partner, I think it says it all. Forget logic, forget everything, because once you are on his side and he's on your side, then
yeah,
you are one. So
you
the
are,
decision
you
becomes very
are.
easy. Yeah, and this is what probably, again, I'm moving off topic. This is what also I tell my salespeople that when you go to sell, don't try to sell. Just try and be a partner to the customer. And even if your product has any shortcomings, accept them and tell them this is what we cannot give them. And think from their perspective, it will become a very easy sale. Why? Because he's got a friend in you to take care of his site.
Oh,
And once he's got
absolutely.
that,
So true.
he will not think about anything else. So it's very rightly said that the minute you start thinking the other person as an equal partner, I think
Yeah.
the entire
Yeah.
bridge of what you were thinking, what I was thinking gets kind of, abridged for that matter.
Absolutely. Then
So,
once you are on their side, they will, understand that you are taking decisions on their
and the
behalf
guards are down.
and
And the guards are
for
down.
their betterment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It, you
So very well
then you're
said,
not
ma'am. And I
selling.
think of course, yes. I understand what you're saying. And I think this session, we are at the end of it, unfortunately, because that's the span people have these days. More than 30 minutes, they're going to shut off in any which ways. So, but I would have loved to have a conversation with you. Why? Because I think we could have made it even shorter had it been only you and me. Why? Because I was definitely able to connect with the one-liners that you mentioned in your answers, and I think I got the answer there and then, and I was thinking of that rather than listening to you on the other part. So I think it was a pleasure having you with us today, and we hope to meet you soon. And we also welcome you anytime you are coming to Chandigarh. Please visit us. And in case I'm sure you're in Punjab. So in case these days we are also conducting Lauka Bowsier buildings, visits of all architects to the buildings that are there in Chandigarh. It needs some permission. And in case ever you want to see that, you let us know and we'll organize it for you as well.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And thank you so much for having me on too. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you today.
Any last words on the topic of the day?
Uh, Not really, but I think, yeah, my only one thing is logic, 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 folks. Nothing should be done on a whim.
Hmm.
Always use the
All
question why. That's it. I think my staff are sick of me asking that question, and that I put out to the world that always ask yourself the question why. Once you have answered that question, everything falls in place.
So let me ask you my last question. So why did you decide to be on this, I would say, the IGTV session of today? What drove you to be a part of it?
What drove me to be a part of it? Hmm, very, very, now that question has got me stumped. No, I just figured it would be fun. Honestly, talking about windows is not something that one thinks about, and it's really made me think. You know, just reading these questions and analyzing it was actually fun thinking about the purpose. Otherwise, you in our everyday trade, you're doing it mechanically, and you
Yeah.
do all this stuff just, automatically without really thinking about why we do this. So this was wonderful to step back and see why we do what we do, why we make these decisions. So that was lovely to be able to do this over because of today's session.
Thank you very much for that answer. Sorry to put you in a spot on that,
Not at all.
because I always
Anytime.
I'm very keen to know why. Because yes, for architects, sometimes it's not a very, I would say, a prominent product in their eyes, because they have so many things to do. So it always kind of intrigues me that why people want to be a part of it. And for us, yes, we always want to learn from architects. So that's why we have conducted this session, so that we can know more about what architects are thinking and what people want to know from architects.
Yeah.
So that is why we are here. Thank you very much, ma'am. It was a pleasure to have you with us.
You
I'll
too.
definitely meet you when we meet next to Amritsar.
Yes, looking forward to connecting with you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.